Yeah. Hope I'm audible. I would like to ask my online participants also. I hope we are audible. We are about to start. We're just doing a little testing. Yeah. Yes, great. Okay. Quality matters. It significantly impacts the outcome of any endeavor. Quality in HEIs helps to ensure learner satisfaction, improve reputation, create brand image, improve efficiency, facilitates better compliances, self-evaluation, accountability, and a transparent overall work environment. Quality is not just about meeting specifications, it is about exceeding expectations and consistently delivering excellence. Hence, quality assurance, sustenance, and improvements are every institution's responsibility. And for this, quality consciousness has to become an important institutional attribute. A very good morning to all. It is my pleasure to welcome this distinguished gathering to the one-day international conference on the theme Enhancing Quality and Achieving Excellence in HEIs, Complementary and Converging Roles of NAC Accreditation and ISO Certification, being organized by Janki Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi, under the aegis of IQAC in collaboration with Center of Assessments for Excellence, an accredited education sector-specific conformity assessment body. It is our honor and privilege to have amongst us a panel of experts as distinguished resource persons who have spared their precious time and have joined us today to give us a wonderful opportunity to interact with them. Warm welcome to Dr. Aarti Khosla, CEO of Center for Assessments for Excellence. Welcome to Mr. Anil Chaudhary, former CEO, NABCB. A very warm welcome to Professor Sitaram Soni, IQAC Director, Plain University, Pune. We also have with us today Professor A.K. Singh, Head and Dean, Department of Commerce, University of Delhi. Warm welcome to you, sir. I extend a warm welcome to our Principal, Professor Swatipal, our Vice Principal, Professor Sandhya Garg, and IQAC Coordinator, Professor Payal Mackwell. This conference is an attempt to have a deeper understanding of the two prime mechanisms to ensure quality in HEIs, namely NAC accreditation and ISO certification, their similarities and also their complementarities. We hope this conference comes up to the expectations of the participants. A very, very warm welcome to all the participants who have joined us in person at JTMC, as well as those who have joined online from various parts of India, as well as from abroad. I would like to extend a hearty welcome to faculty members from Mahatma Gandhi Government College, Maya Bundir, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, India, and Devnar Foundation for the Blind, Hyderabad, India, the two colleges with whom we have collaborations under Vidya Vistar scheme of Delhi University. A very warm welcome to the participants who have joined us from Oriental University, Tashkent, Uzbekistan. We are happy to share that our college has recently entered into collaborations with several academic institutions in Uzbekistan.
A very good morning to our esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, and participants. I'm Ruby Bhardwaj. I am Systems Coordinator for ISO certification at Janki Devi Memorial College. As you all know, this conference is the outcome of a collaboration between COEE and Janki Devi Memorial College. It is therefore pertinent to introduce and say a few lines about the two collaborating organizations. Janki Devi Memorial College is a premier college of University of Delhi devoted to the empowerment of women through quality education for over 6 decades. In 2023, the college obtained ISO 9001 and 21001 certifications. It is the first college in the University of Delhi to be ISO 21001 certified. The same year, JDMC was accredited with grade A by NAC. A plus, sorry. I repeat, grade A plus by NAC The college offers 12 undergraduate and 8 postgraduate courses in humanities, social sciences, mathematics, and commerce. JDMC is a center for non-collegiate women's education board and has been the center for School of Open Learning, University of Delhi. The college also runs several add-on courses, certificate courses geared towards enhancement of skill among students. JDMC has signed MOUs with a number of national and international organizations and universities. The college has an extremely dedicated and committed faculty and teaching staff. At JDMC, our strength is our enthusiastic students and diligent ones who excel in myriad scholastic and extracurricular activities. COAE, our collaborator, Center of Assessments in Excellence, is an accredited education sector specific conformity assessment body. Established in 2016, COAE International was founded with the vision of revolutionizing management systems within educational institutions, aiming for excellence, innovation, adoption of best practices, and creation of global opportunities. COAE is associated with hundreds of educational institutions across 20 countries and has emerged as the most trusted partner for the assessment, audit, training, and certification requirements within the global education sector. The team of experts at COE collaborate closely with governmental and private institutions offering advisory services and facilitating the effective implementation of the National Education Policy 2020. May I now request Professor Pal to felicitate Mr. Anil Johri, former CEO, National Accreditation Board of Certification Bodies. I also request Professor Pal to felicitate Dr. Aarti Khosla, founder and CEO of COAE. I request Dr. Shilpa Chaudhary, IQAC mentor and systems coordinator, ISO, to felicitate the principal. Dr. Renuka, core member, ISO team, to welcome the vice principal. Vijoyata Yonson, to welcome IQAC coordinator, Professor Payal Nagpal.
So we take the program further from here. It is my pleasure to introduce our respected and beloved principal, Professor Swatipal, to the gathering. Professor Swatipal holds the distinction of being a Charles Wallace Awardee and the first Asian to be recognized as the John McGrath Theatre Studies Scholar at Edinburgh University. She is an accomplished author with numerous publications in the realms of theatre, creative, and academic writing. Her research focuses on performance studies and cultural history. Through her newspaper articles, she eloquently expresses her perspectives on education. She holds the position of Vice Chair at the Indian Association for Commonwealth Literature and Language Studies. Ma'am has presented a number of papers at national and international conferences. Professor Pal is also a trained NAC assessor and has been on NAC peer team visits to several colleges as member NAC peer team. She is proficient in translations and is also a poet, with her works featured in various anthologies. Her contributions have earned her several prestigious awards. An administrator par excellence, a leader with farsightedness, Professor Pal is indeed a visionary under whose able and dynamic leadership the college has grown leaps and bounds. We have successfully crossed several benchmarks and we have created higher ones for ourselves. And we are steady and firm on our path towards excellence. Thank you so much, ma'am. May I invite Professor Pal to now address the gathering. Somebody's with the PowerPoint. Okay. The PowerPoint. You can do a slideshow. The slide. I can just do this, right? The right click? Right. Okay. Dr. Arti Khosla, Professor Sitaram Soni, Mr. Anil Johri, Professor A.K. Singh, Professor Nagpal, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Shilpa Chaudhary and Professor Ruby Bhardwaj, Conference Coordinators, faculty members from Janki Devi Memorial College, other colleges of the University of Delhi, Tashkent, Andamans, Hyderabad, and from across cities of the country. Good morning to all of you and a very, very warm welcome to Janki Devi Memorial College. I think it is becoming warm, so I speak literally as well as metaphorically. In order to foreground the theme of the conference, I would like to address the following using my experience at Janki Devi Memorial College, University of Delhi, for close to 3 decades that I have been serving here. This will largely be an experiential talk, therefore. The college was established in 1959, a little over a decade after India gained her independence and became a nation state. Yep. No. Okay. It's unmuted. It's muted at the. Sorry. All right. This is what happens when we use a lot of technology. Sometimes we don't know. And principals are not used to being muted at all. Unmute, press unmute. Then I don't know why this is showing up. It's okay. Can the listeners online hear me?
Can the listeners online hear me? Yes, all right. Thank you. So to get back to what I was saying, the college was established in 1959, a little over a decade after India gained her independence and became a nation state. At the helm of the college, our founding father, Sri Brij Kishan Chandiwala, who was a freedom fighter devoted to Bapu Mahatma Gandhi. What was the vision of Brij Kishan Chandiwala in building this college? In his own words, and the English translation is on the screen in front of you, ईश्वर से मेरी यही प्रार्थना है कि इस विद्यालय में हमारी कन्याएं उस सच्ची विद्या की उपासक बने और यहाँ से संयम, सेवा, सादगी और त्याग की भावना को लेकर उत्तीर्ण हो, तभी हमारा मनोरथ शुद्ध होगा और सच्ची स्मृति भी वही होगी. I pray to God that our girls in this institution become worshippers of true knowledge, and from here the spirit of love, service, sincerity, and sacrifice be nurtured. Only then will our love for them be fulfilled and true memories to cherish be created. What did he see as the role of knowledge? Again, in his words, Vidya Vinay Pradan karti hai. Vinay se manushya how do you pronounce this? सुपात्रता को प्राप्त होता है. सुपात्रता को प्राप्त होता है. I beg your pardon. पात्रता से धन प्राप्त होता है. धन से धर्म होता है और उससे सच उपलब्ध होता है. Education provides humility. From humility, one attains the true human and humane form. The humane human attains wealth. The attainment of wealth helps humans to follow the path of dharma or righteousness, and from it, truth is attained. Perhaps we may find these words very philosophical in the 21st century, but I will ask you to remember the time in which he was located, a time of great transition for the country, the first decade of decolonization, where nation building, value systems, and a spirit of sacrifice was uppermost in most minds. Our founder was a devout Gandhian, and it is only apt that his philosophy was based on Gandhian thought. And the beauty is that things have come full circle when today too, what with SDG goals, and the nation preparing under flagship programs such as Viksit Bharat at 2047, there is a focused attention on nation building, and the national education policy too encourages what are called value-based courses as well as skill enhancement courses. Quite in keeping with the way our founder, Brij Kishanji, looked at the role of institutions as well as of knowledge. On the slide in front of you is a little image that I picked up of the from the net, which outlines the key principles of the NEP. And perhaps at this point, I will ask you to look at what those key principles are. Respect for diversity and local context to be reflected in all curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. Equity and inclusion to become the cornerstone of all educational decisions. Community participation, that is uplifting, philanthropic, private community participation. Use of technology in teaching and learning, removing technological barriers. Emphasizing conceptual understanding. Learning for exams with no rote learning. Recognizing and tapping the unique capabilities in each student. Critical thinking and creativity to boost logical decision-making and innovation, and continuous review through regular assessment. If we expand the ideas and observations of our founder, we will find that he factored in most of the key principles of NEP 2020 in his observations, ideas, and vision so many years ago, that is in 1959, when this college was first created. But coming back to the theme of the conference, as I revisit the history of the college, I go back in time to the year that I joined this college, which is 1995. At that point of time in history, the students who came to college were still mostly from conservative and low-income group families. The college was determined that the women students of the college should not think of marriage as the ultimate outcome of studying in college. And women's empowerment was quite a buzzword in the 90s till the end of the 20th century. Of course, it still is, but at that point of time, it was quite a buzzword. This was the time that the non-formal education that the college was providing to enable girls to learn a skill so that they could support themselves was found to be so effective that the college actually built a vocational center where all kinds of courses were taught with affordable fees. Again, what an irony that now skill-based education has become the mantra of our times. This was also the time that computers began to enter the fray, and the college library and its staff were among the first to be given computer training, as of course it was the library that saw the first effects of ICT. Once more, I must repeat, look at the way that we are now dependent on ICT, and the fact is that the NEP is clear that ICT has to play a major role in the teaching learning process. Meantime, you can see on the slide in front of you how the government of India was trying to rework educational patterns and systems. Now, perhaps many of you are wondering why I am speaking about all these historical developments. The reason is this. As an educational institution, Janki Devi Memorial College, and of course, other good educational institutions and academic establishments always rose to meet the challenges of a changing society and responded to the needs of the learners, of course, within the guidelines of the policy makers. Yet, the fact is that this was done on the basis of the academic leadership taking the initiative to facilitate the young learners in every possible way to negotiate with the changing landscape. There was a general plan of action, and to repeat, it was need-based, needs of learners, needs of society, and needs that arose from changing patterns. All very good and commendable aims, objectives, and targets. But there was no assessment or evaluation as to whether or not all these efforts being put by us to provide quality and transformative education was really meeting the mark or not. The necessity of conforming to certain standards so that the perception of the college outside as well as inside of the college could be validated on the basis of evidence and certification was felt to be the need of the hour by the then leadership of the college. And that is how the college went ahead to take on NAC accreditation in 2017. Its first cycle. I will not mince words. The results shook us and hurt us immensely, for though it was a respectable B++, and we attained that respectable score of 2.67, and we did so by putting up all available data honestly, so that nobody could accuse us of being manipulative, we found that educational institutions that, unfortunately, we did not have much of an opinion about had scored more than us. Once the initial trauma of that moment died down and the anxiety and, dare I say, rage subsided, being a resilient institution genuinely committed to providing quality education, we were curious to see where we were lagging behind. We did that by studying the colleges that had exceeded our expectation in terms of their NAC scores, and we learned. We learned from the best practices of those institutions. We realized that we had some gaps in certain areas, be it infrastructure, facilities, or the systems and processes in place. And for the next 5 years, we devoted ourselves to addressing all of those gaps, be it entrepreneurship, research environment, a hostel and more labs, ERP modules, other software, and every domain from environment to extracurricular activities, we strategized, we drew up a concerted plan of action, and we implemented it. And the growth of the students became visible. The happiness quotient was up, and it was inevitable that in our second cycle in 2023, the college was awarded an A plus with a score of 3.43. Yes, I was hoping for the clap. The honest hard work was rewarded, and more than the grade, the transformation of the college in all spheres was felt by all stakeholders. The NAC criteria thus became for us something to covet. It set for us a benchmark that we had to achieve, not just because it was the NAC, beg your pardon, that said so, but because through the student satisfaction survey that constitutes almost 30% of the score, we could see for ourselves whether or not our students were genuinely satisfied or not. It made us introspect about ourselves. It made us engage with every aspect of the college and look for ways and means to better ourselves. As I've already said, one of the most useful aspects was the best practices and the distinctiveness of other academic institutions. I have always believed that the best compliment we can pay someone is to emulate the person we say we admire. This adage is true for institutions also. And we need to understand that that is actually what the NAC is about. It is about all of us learning from the best practices of each other and thus create and recreate standards for academic institutions across the country so that we attract people across the globe to join us. Very briefly, I want to conclude by talking about ISO. Now, many may ask, why ISO if there was already an accreditation system in place? It is here that I will reiterate, Janki Devi Memorial College has always believed in genuine commitment to education. I underline, genuine. Human nature is inconsistent. Moments of great effort can be punctuated by moments of slack. There is also the danger of unevenness in the teaching learning processes being adopted by stakeholders. The ISO in its implementation avoids that. You can see the process of implementation on the slide in front of you. Now, to play the devil's advocate, one may say, why should one try to homogenize? Let there be room for uniqueness. Why have standardization? I say this with full awareness of the pejorative connotations of the word standardization. However, the ISO 21001:2018 and the ISO 9001:2015, for both of which Janki Devi Memorial College is certified, does not intrude into individual practices within the classroom for learner satisfaction. Rather, it makes the teacher and the institution explore new avenues for development and map each action within the institution, its objectives, its implementation, its challenges, its prospects for improvement, and most importantly, the ISO does not ignore change. We live in times of rapid change. You would know that better than all of us. What with the NEP, right? Following the process of ISO certification teaches us change management as well as risk management, for it addresses the changes and risks involved in the evolution of an institution. In that sense, it addresses the gaps that the NAC fails to look into. The ISO shows you the way to achieve all that the NAC wants you to aspire for, and it shows you how you can do that in a systematic manner with all the stakeholders very clear about the systems and processes in place. It minimizes misjudgment as it makes one review oneself on a regular basis. when the NEP talks about regular assessment, yes, it could be referring to students, but please remember that regular assessment also applies to the institution by and large. And the ISO really allows you to do that. I can only say that Janki Devi Memorial College has benefited from both the NAC as well as the ISO certification. And the journey has been one of immense learning as well as joy, some amount of heartburn also, I may dare say, but generally of joy. We are so happy to have been awarded the Global Award of a Joyful Institution. We hope all institutions will walk along with us on this joy-filled journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Pal, for a very, very insightful presentation. Thank you for sharing the journey of JDMC, our evolution and the transformation that has been in line with broad changes in education policy. And thank you so much for highlighting the very positive characteristics of this college, resilience, an open mind to learn from others, and our ability to view accreditation and ISO certification as opportunities for introspection and quality enhancements. Thank you so much. We now begin with session 1. In this first session, we have 4 esteemed resource persons with us. We request our online participants, they can write their queries in the chat box. All questions will be addressed in the interactive session that is going to take place after the presentation by all the 4 speakers have been completed. We would also like to remind all participants that the link for attendance form will be posted in the chat box for each session separately. So please don't forget to fill that up. I now hand over the dais to my colleague, Dr. Renuka, to introduce our first distinguished speaker, Dr. Aarti Khosla.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpa Chaudhary. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the session, Dr. Aarti Khosla. Dr. Aarti Khosla is the founder and CEO of International Center of Assessment for Excellence, dedicated to transforming education. She is the recipient of the Best Women Entrepreneur in Conformity Assessment in Education Award. She is leading some impactful projects with organizations such as Ministry of Education, World Bank, UNIDO, the European Commission funded European Quality Assurance Framework for Vocational Education and Training. Additionally, she provides expertise to various international accreditation boards worldwide, leveraging her deep knowledge of standards. At the forefront of global standard development, Dr. Khosla serves as India's esteemed country representative and project leader at the International Technical Committee, ISO, Geneva. Her contribution through her expertise in developing standards go beyond education to include other sectors within the service industry. As part of the six-member BIS Search Committee, Dr. Khosla plays a pivotal role in identifying experts to contribute to development of international standards across sectors such as banking and finance services, business services, tourism, environment, legal, hospitality, and media, among others. Her collaborations with multiple ministries of the Government of India have enhanced their institutional processes, risk management, governance, and operational excellence. As global leader, Dr. Khosla has empowered over 5,000 leaders from nearly 40 countries over her 24-year professional journey. Currently, she is dedicated to supporting various Indian states in implementing the transformative National Education Policy 2020. I now request Dr. Aarti Khosla to share her words of wisdom with the audience.
Yeah, this is the. This is the bottom.
Thank you. A very good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. It is always a pleasure being here. I have visited this college a few times in the past, and it's always the warmth that we see here, the love that we get here. It's always very welcoming. That photograph is lovely, where the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University is awarding the ISO 21001 certificates to the team led by Professor Swati Pal. And we go to several institutions for conducting our assessments in India and, of course, outside. But there are very few who really take it in spirit, who want to give their best, who consider the management system standards as tools to achieve excellence. And those institutions really touch your heart. And Janki Devi is one of those. And when Professor Swati Pal shared the desire to conduct an event in collaboration with COAE, I just couldn't say no. And we were really happy to do this and collaborate. And I'm so happy that we have the audience from the other institutions also. And then a lot of people have joined us online. I have been asked to talk about what is an ISO 21001 standard, because this is a very new standard. It came only in the year 2018. It was published in May 2018. And since then, a lot of institutions across the whole world have been implementing it. You must have often heard people saying, an ISO standard, will it really make a difference? I must say, this is one standard that surely makes a difference. This is one standard that not only helps you in achieving excellence in your educational services, but it also kind of transforms the way you look at things. It transforms your mindset. You start looking at each activity as a process. You start working towards an outcome-based approach. You want to be the best. You want to achieve excellence. This is what the standard does for you. The implementation journey is really long. You don't get it overnight. You work to implement the standard in the most effective way for probably months together. And then you have to undergo a third-party audit and then you are certified. So the whole process takes time. But what is really important is when we visit the institutions, we want to make sure that the whole team was involved in the process. It's not just the principal or the IQSE coordinator. Right now, I'm referring only to the HEIs or the IQSE coordinator or the HODs, or maybe 2, 3 people along with the consultant. We don't want that. We want everybody to be involved. And I always use a jargon from chairman to doorman, everyone. Yeah. Only when there is so much of accountability, so much of ownership in the processes, you will see the results. I always shared this incident. We went to one university and as auditors, we always want to see how much people are involved. So we were waiting in the vice chancellor's room in the morning, waiting for him to come so that we could start our opening meeting. He got late by 5-10 minutes. And in the meanwhile, there was a female peon who served us tea. We were a 4-member team of auditors, and I was the only female. Rest of my colleagues were males. And just out of curiosity and to check how much everybody is involved, I just asked her, do you know why we are here? क्या आपको पता है हम यहाँ क्यों आए हैं? And this is a college, this is a university in Delhi. So she says, हाँ मैडम हमको पता है, आप हमारा quality check करने आए हैं. For the people who joined us online from the other countries, so this lady said, yeah, I know you've come to check our quality. Now, I was really surprised to hear the word quality from a woman who might not have even gone to school. Yeah. So again, my second question was, acha, quality kya hota hai? And the answer that she gave me was really beautiful. She said, Madam, और लोगों का तो नहीं पता, मेरे लिए क्वालिटी ये है कि आप इतनी दूर से चल के आए, जो चाय मैं आपके लिए बना के लाई आपको अच्छी लगनी चाहिए. Yeah. Our learners come to us for skill building. They come to us for quality education. They want to have the right employability skills so that they are welcomed by the industry, so that they feel confident, so that they can lead so many initiatives in the country and make the country proud. To do that, the learners, their parents, all the other stakeholders, they are putting in all the confidence into the institution. Is the institution able to do that? Is the institution able to give the right values that the learners come for? I think ISO is nothing. ISO 21001, this is only this. This is one standard which helps you benchmark your systems. It's kind of a yardstick which you can use to see where you are, how much value you've been able to add, how much you've been able to satisfy your stakeholders, right from your management to the learners, to the parents, to the industry, the Ministry of Education, the Delhi University, your own committees, your faculty, your non-teaching staff, everybody is important for you. So this is what ISO 21001 is. Professor Pal has already, in her initial remarks, she's highlighted how ISO 21001 has helped the institution. I am going to kind of repeat what she said. So I will be a little quick with my presentation. And as you have already been told, there will be, sorry, is this working?
Yes.
There will be an open house session also in the afternoon. And then after all the 4 presentations, we will be having discussions as well. This one, left one?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are 3 important pillars in the HEIs, including robust processes. When you say you want to have effective governance in the system, what are those 3 very important things? Having robust processes, having a value-based system where monitoring and measurement becomes a part and parcel of your day-to-day activities. Yeah, you don't wait for a third party to come and audit you, like COAE auditors or like NAC assessors. Every day you are carrying out your activities in the most effective way, and every day you are ready for an assessment. Anybody, you are like, okay, come, you want to assess me, please come today. It's like that.
So having effective processes in place, making it a habit, ensuring that the whole system is transparent. Professor Pal used a very appropriate word called genuine. That genuineness needs to be built in your processes. And that makes it very transparent and the people become very accountable. Second important pillar is the stakeholder engagement. Unless every stakeholder is engaged in the whole process, you cannot deliver results. And the third important pillar is, of course, strategic leadership and management. How everybody is brought together on the same page, how everybody connects with the vision and the mission of the institution. Such a beautiful vision and mission Janki Devi has. The founders really knew what they want from this institution. And this is being carried even today after so many decades. So does every single person in the institution connect with that is important. Now, why? Why ISO? It is needed if you want to demonstrate to the whole world that you are capable to consistently meet the requirements of your stakeholders. You are delivering the best results. Because if you've implemented an ISO 21001 in your institution, you would surely go for a third-party certification as well. I have never seen an institution who would do it very well and then say, I don't need a certificate. I just wanted to use it to improve my systems. Because ultimately, you would want a recognition also. So this recognition tells your stakeholders, tells the community that this is an institution which really works towards excellence in education. They are really concerned about quality in education. There are 11 principles based on which the whole standard has been developed. These include focus on your learners, focus on all the beneficiaries. Your leadership has to be visionary. People need to be engaged. Engagement of people is something very, very important. Process approach, improvement. Your decisions should be based on evidences. Now, an institution that does not collect enough evidences will never be able to be totally sure about the decisions that it takes. So take informed decisions. This is what the standard says. Focus on managing the relationships with your stakeholders. You have to prioritize. First, you identify who are my stakeholders, and then how much importance do I give to every stakeholder, and how am I going to manage my relationships with them? There are 4 new principles that have been added only for the sake of ISO 21001 because it is an education sector specific standard. It is not a generic standard. Okay. And those 4 are social responsibility, accessibility and equity, creating equal opportunities, being an inclusive institution. Okay. What kind of policies you have to ensure that you are an inclusive institution, ensuring ethical conduct at all the levels. Do you have some kind of policies that guide your anti-bribery ethics, your vision? Nothing should ever go wrong in any of the processes, whether it is your admission, though in Delhi University, of course, admissions are the most transparent thing that is happening right now. But then everything, including your examination, the research output, how do you take care of plagiarism? Plagiarism is a very small thing. I'm talking about the overall ethics that the institution is really, committed to. And the last one, which has now become very, very important because of the changes in the technology, because of the enhanced use of the technology at all the levels, data security. Every institution has got so much of data, but how do you ensure that the data remains safe? So this is one very important principle. And, by 2030, we are all set. India is all set to become one of the youngest nations of the world with more than 145 million youth in the country. So imagine what kind of responsibility every educational institution has. Now, the requirements can be divided broadly into 5 major categories. Of course, there are 7. I've tried to club them. I've tried to simplify everything so that, I don't want to make it too technical for you right now. This is not an awareness session. I'm only trying to give you an overview. Now, to understand it well, what all an institution is supposed to do if the institution wants to be certified for an ISO 2001 standard. It begins with the strategic direction, your vision, your mission. How do you map that with your processes? How do you identify your stakeholders? How do you understand their needs and expectations? And how do you work towards achieving them? Do you have a process-based approach? Your input, output, how well are you able to integrate all the processes within the higher education institution to achieve those results? What are the end goals? Are your objectives mapped with your processes? Leadership has to play a very, very important role in ISO 21001, where your educational organization system policy, your objectives, you will have to carry out a risk management. Professor Pal already mentioned that in her opening remarks. There are very few higher education institutions who understand what is risk management, who understand what kind of risk can emerge, even if they've never occurred in the past. Can they occur in future because of the changing trends, because of the changing technology, the rapidly changing societal scenario, the economic scenario? How are you going to take care of all those things? Yeah, so top management has to play a lot of focus on those aspects. Then when you talk about resources, this is not only about infrastructure, this is also about human resources, how competent your people are. Even if there are areas where improvements are needed, how do you identify those improvement areas? And then you take very focused and relevant actions to cover those gaps in the competencies. You have to manage your communications well. Yeah, whether your internal communications or external communication. You also have to plan for changes, change management. This is relatively a new term for the education sector, but how much the leaders are competent to handle changes in a very structured approach. Then your operations include all your curriculum planning, your academic processes, the non-academic processes, your assessments, the inclusivity. How do you take care of the requirements that are related to the learners with special needs? Are you well equipped to handle all of that? Skill-based education. And then lastly, you have to evaluate your own performance. You should know whether you are on the right track or not. For doing that, there are self-assessments that are needed. There are internal audits that are needed. There's a lot of data analysis that's involved. KPI is a term which is mostly used in industry and less used in education sector, but it's very important that for every process, you have measurable process indicators so that over a period of time, you know it very, very transparently where you are and where you need to go. So with these kind of requirements that have been laid down for the educational institutions, once you've done this, you will see that a lot of collaboration is happening, a lot of brainstorming is happening. Everybody starts talking the same language. The moment something goes wrong in the system, people don't work towards correcting it. Rather, they would work towards taking corrective action so that it doesn't ever occur in future again. You are not dealing with the same problems every day. Rather, you start dealing with newer problems every day. Yeah, or maybe you will, over a period of time, you will reduce the problems that occur because you have proper systems in place. So it certainly helps you to improve your national, international rankings, because how the society starts perceiving you, how the world starts looking at you, what kind of credibility you are able to establish, and how much you are able to satisfy your stakeholders. All this is certainly going to improve where you stand. It helps you to align your objectives with your mission and vision. It helps you to improve the facilities that you have, all the resources that you're providing. They become the world-class resources. Your learning outcomes, even I would say, the very basic thing, your lesson planning improves because you start looking at your teaching learning process with a different perspective. You want to ensure an outcome-based teaching learning. Then you start looking at the kind of activities that will help you to achieve those kind of learning outcomes. You make your teaching learning process, you will integrate it with AI. You will think of new ways to make it as latest as possible. You will start working on the new teaching pedagogies. You will start involving all the stakeholders. Even, I have seen institutions where students are taking very active participation in defining the curriculum, in talking about the kind of activities that should be done. Students' feedback is something which becomes very, very prominent in these institutions who go for the certification. And that gives you a very good insight, a very positive insight about the improvement areas, right from teaching, learning to infrastructure, to resources, to engagement, participation, collaboration. Yeah. Not only student feedback, also the faculty feedback, the non-teaching staff feedback, the parents' feedback, industry feedback. Our students are getting placed in the industry. When they work with those companies for a few months, you are in a position to ask those companies how well your children are performing there, so that this feedback can be further incorporated into your curriculum and you keep enhancing your curriculum. It doesn't become stagnant. ISO is nothing new. ISO is a very, very old organization. It was set up in 1942. Sir, am I right? 47. I have with me Mr. Johri here, who is the I would say the kind of expertise that he has in the ISO standards. You are all going to learn a lot from his expertise today. A lot of people like me, the experts who are working in the ISO sector, will look up to him for a lot of guidance on different subjects. There are about 169 members that represent their countries in the ISO. Their countries, when I say, these are the government bodies of all these countries. Like in India, we have Bureau of Indian Standards. Bureau of Indian Standards represents India at ISO. And when I am working with the ISO in a technical committee, I'm representing India. I don't go there as an individual. I represent my country there. There are a lot of technical committees and subcommittees. So just for your information, this is the first ever management system standard for the education sector that has been published by an international organization. So all 169 member countries have adopted the standard. And if you go to the ISO website and you search ISO 21001, you will see that this is directly mapped with these UN Sustainable Development Goals. Goal number 4, goal number 10, and goal number 11. So directly this is leading to the achievement of all these SDGs. There were about 86 experts from different national standardization bodies from 39 countries who came together and who developed the standard. It took us a couple of years to publish the standard. And finally, in May 2018, it was published. Since then, there are thousands of educational institutions across the whole world who are implementing it. Now, when I say educational institutions, this includes everybody, right from a preschool to university. The schools, colleges, universities, the learning and development verticals, the training institutions, any institution that is in the business of transacting a curriculum and teaching learning process can implement the standard. So it gives you generic guidelines for the entire education system. Now to implement it, if the institutions want to do it, they will have to begin with a gap assessment. Now you will pick up the ISO standard, you see what are the requirements. In order to be an ISO certified institution, what are those things that I need to do? So identify those gaps in your system, make teams, identify the relevant people within your teams, who is good to take care of which area. I think Janki Devi team is the best one to guide you on that, how to go about it. They've really done it in a beautiful way, in a very structured way. There are several committees within the institution who have taken care of the implementation. Finally, when you've implemented the standard, everything has been documented and you are quite confident about your system, conduct an internal audit. An internal audit is generally conducted by the competent people who know how to do an audit. Even NAC assessors, when they come to your institution, they would have undergone some kind of an assessment training. No assessor would come to an institution just, without a capacity building and comes and starts asking questions. They know the relevant questions. They know how to map their questions with the requirements of the standard. And then they know how to gather the information, prepare a report, and take informed decision whether you should be certified or no. Even NAC has now gone for the binary certification. I think you all know that, binary accreditation. So NAC would no more be grading the institution. You are either an accredited or a non-accredited institution. So binary is the way going further. And ISO is also a binary certification. ISO never grades you. Then you finally go for the certification. And for certification, you have to apply to the certification body. In this case, it is COAE. After you apply, we would allocate the respective team who would visit you, who would do an audit. They prepare the report. It gets reviewed by the certification committee, which is again an external committee. We take very good care of all the types of conflict of interest, confidentiality, and impartiality at all the levels. Because we are an accredited certification body and we are also audited. Just like we audit an institution, we also have to face our audits. So we also maintain that complete genuineness in the entire process of certification. We certify you for 3 years. Year 1, you get your certificate. Second year, again, we would visit you for an annual surveillance check. And the third year, again, we visit you for an annual surveillance check. Then in the 4th year, you go for a recertification. So there are institutions who have been having the ISO certifications for the last 20, 30 years, ISO 9001 or the other management system standards. So every 3 years, you go on renewing it. That's it about ISO. And finally, our goal at COA is to ensure that quality education becomes a priority. This is how we started off. I myself belong to a family of academicians. My mom was a school principal. My grandmom was a school principal. And since my childhood, I have seen only education being spoken about at home. At dinner tables, the only discussions used to be, आज ये टीचर चली गई, अभी क्या करेंगे? Syllabus complete नहीं हुआ, exams आ रहे हैं. Children are not interested in studying. What do I do? How do I ensure quality education? How do I make sure that when I will leave this institution, it will be taken care of? How do I leave my legacy behind? So all those kind of questions I have grown up with, and this is, I think it kept instilling in me that I need to do something for the education sector, and there we are. Right now, our only focus is to create value for the education sector. So any college, any university, any institution who is really interested in embarking upon the journey of excellence, please do get in touch. It'll be a pleasure to have a word with you. Again, very recently, very recently, we conducted a survey for about 5,000 teachers, including school teachers and higher education teachers. I call them teachers. I don't call them faculty. Everybody who's into the teaching job is an educator. So we spoke to them. And the only question we asked in our survey was, why are you teaching? You will be surprised. I was surprised. The entire team was surprised. But then we had to share this with the government of India also. And then now government is thinking of a lot of other things as well. Somebody said, I completed my formal teacher training, so I had to become a teacher. Somebody said, I have my own children studying in the same institution, so life is really easy. Yeah. Then somebody said, I had quit my corporate job, so teaching looked as an easier career option. There is a lot of respect, honor, safety. Travel time is less. There is no corporate politics. There are stronger relations with the management. We are close to the management. We as a couple are working together. Me and my husband, we are working in the same institution, so life is easy. Yeah. Is that true? These were 92%. 92% of the people who took part in our survey gave us these answers. And there were only 8% who said, because I love to teach. Just 8% said, I became a teacher because I love to teach. That's so sad. A country like India, where education is treated to be the backbone of the nation. Some parts of the country, in the southern part, if you go, still there are some villages where the child, first time he starts speaking an alphabet, even Amma and Papa, they will celebrate. They will invite all the relatives and they celebrate because education is the key. Learning is the key. So a country like India, still, if this is the state, it's a sorry state. But yeah, this is changing. Now, today, when I go to the institutions to conduct audits and I'm speaking to them, I see a lot of passion, lot of rigor in the teachers. The way they are teaching, I think it's completely changed. Although because of NAC accreditation and because of a lot of other things also, you have to give reports to the university. There's a huge amount of documentation also involved. But at the same time, the teachers who have made it a part and parcel of life and they look at it as a practice that needs to be implemented, I think the journey becomes easier because of the passion that they have. We've trained a lot of people from across the world. I think I'll skip that. We train auditors, we train lead implementers. Our programs are all accredited by the Exemplar Global in US. I'll skip all of this because of the lack of time. We will share an article with you all, with the online participants also, the soft copy. I'll request the JDMC team to share those links in the chat box, where we have a detailed document on this, another detailed document which tells you how internationalization and globalization in the higher educational institutions can be taken care of through ISO 21001. We have tried to do a lot of research in this subject, so we are sharing all the work with you all. There are a lot of possible actions which you all can take. I'm again going to share this presentation with everyone so that it goes. I think what is now needed is we need a lot of auditors in the whole world, not only in India. We need a lot of implementers. We need people who understand education plus standardization. This combination is very, very important for the education sector. Otherwise, academicians will continue to feel why standardization, and standardization experts will continue to feel that academicians cannot implement standardization. So to fill that gap, to fill the gap between an educational institution and the industry, it is important that more and more people get to know about it. And they start believing that this can be done. Yeah, I think JDMC can very well support the statement. There is a very short, quick story that I'll share with you all, and JDMC can support that. So there was a man who was walking through a desert and he didn't have water. He was very, very thirsty. He was about to collapse and suddenly he saw a small hut. He went inside and there was a hand pump which was all dried up. And there was a 2 liters bottle of water filled with water, which was hanging there. And there was a note in that bottle. You have 2 choices. Either you drink this water or you fill this water in this hand pump, and then you will get plenty of water from the hand pump, which you can also drink and the others can also drink. But the condition is, in that case, you will have to refill this bottle and put it up here again. This man thought, this is all completely dried up hand pump. I'm sure no water is going to come out of it. Somebody is making fool of me and let me drink this water that's there in the bottle. He took it, and as he was about to drink, something told him to put that water in the hand pump. And he decided, okay, let me do that. He did that. And to his surprise, there was a lot of water coming out from the hand pump. As he went on pumping it, he kept on getting a lot of water. He quenched his thirst. He had water. He refilled that bottle. There were other containers. He refilled all those containers, put them there. He refilled his own container. And then he went. He went a few steps ahead, but then he again came back. Took a piece of paper which was kept there, took a pen also, and wrote on it, please have faith. This note really works. And he puts it back on the bottle so that next time when somebody comes, he had no second thoughts. Yeah, he will have faith and he will do it, and then he will see the results. So it is very important that you do it and you see the results. There is no other way out. So thank you very much. With this, I'll stop here. What Arti said, through the ISO, you will see the result. Right?
Thinking. And another thing is we are making just write it down. We are making the co-host. यहाँ पे उनका पीपीटी निकालो और लाइक इंट्रोडक्शन हो रहा है करेंगे ना वाला से शेयर स्क्रीन मतलब अगर तुम्हें करना है
स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है नहीं है बाबा हमारा स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है
अच्छा तो मैं कर देता हूँ ना ये वाला शेयर शेयर एंड सीताराम सर बस
Thank you, Dr. Khosla, for such an insightful and informative session. I'm sure all of us have learned a lot about ISO accreditation certification, about how to do it, how to go about it, and why. Let us now move on, and we now introduce to the audience our second speaker of the day, Professor Sitaram Soni, who is a director of IQAC at Flame University, India. An eminent designer, engineer, and educator, Professor Soni has done his master's from IIT Bombay and doctorate from IIT Jabalpur. He has experience of about 30 years in research, industry, and academia. Professor Soni has held positions of principal of 2 engineering institutes and VC of a university and has successfully led these institutes to accreditation by NAC and NBA with higher grades. Professor Soni has been advisor to many institutes for quality system design and accreditation process implementation. There are many innovative initiatives under his credit. He has been instrumental in developing the centers of excellence in various institutes. As an early adapter of Make in India initiative, he has designed skill training for employability programs. He developed the concept of fungineering, which aids school children in science and mathematics. His expertise includes CAD, CAM, robotic, animation, design, aesthetics, and AI. Professor Soni has worked on numerous projects for MNCs and various research and academic institutions at both national and international level. He is also a member of many societies and has numerous publications to his credit. His recent area of interest are TQM in education, data analytics, deep learning, brain-computer interface, and atomic processing and intelligence. Professor Soni is a believer of lifelong learning with no boundaries, and that the connection of everything is the source of creativity, innovation, humor, and human ingenuity. Sir has joined us online today from Pune. We invite Sir to take over the screens.
Thank you, everybody. Greetings from Flame University. Am I audible?
Sir, just a second, we are not able to hear. His voice is audible here, not to everyone. So can you speak again? I don't think it's audible to everyone.
Am I audible?
It's just audible here. So just give us 2 seconds.
Also give me the rights to share the screen.
So yes, sir, you can share the screen. Yeah.
So we have made you the co-host, so you will be having the right to share the screen. So please try at your end. You are the co-host now.
Okay, thank you. Is it visible? My screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, it has come.
Nice. And am I audible to online participants also?
It's visible. So just a second, there is a problem with the audio. The PPT, there's some problem with the, just fix it. Just give us 2 seconds.
So your volume is fine, but I think your voice is coming little in a breaking form. So can you please say it again? Say something again. We can just test it.
Hello, this is Dr. Soni. Am I audible to everybody?
Please speak. Is he able to hear us?
Sony, can you just speak audio?
Yes, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, spin button, sir.
Yes, sir. I think we can start with the presentation. It's audible now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for waiting.
Well,
Spin. No. So you can start. So please start.
So just a wait. We're starting the one.
yeah.
So you can start.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry for the glitch, and the technology is still not a very smooth road. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, I think I should go ahead. And the screen is also visible. Like,
Yes, sir. It's visible. Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you very much. So once again, greetings from Flame University, Pune, and Honorable Principal Ma'am, Miss Aarti, other dignitaries, and participants in on and offline mode. I welcome you all and greetings from Flame University, Pune. We have been working on ISO and NEC space for some time. And in today's presentation, I will have a very philosophical view of the relationship between NEC and ISO, and me being a man of mathematics, technology, I wanted to see that how this whole relationship can be captured in a robust framework, and can there be mapping between ISO and different frameworks. So I will introduce to you the kind of research questions we have set up for ourselves at our university. And this is a very superficial view of the kind of research we are doing. And I say this research because we are not developing the low level details, but a meta system detail about the relationship between different frameworks and how this can be modeled. Am I audible? Can I get some response so that
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible. Right.
because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
to camera. So okay, thank you. So as we understand, this NAC and ISO I find to be two complementary frameworks. NAC has got 7 criteria. It's a framework for quality metric and higher education, of course. And ISO is a kind of framework for robust systems and process. It's a standard. And both of these frameworks are actually focusing on one area, and I mean, relatively the other area is a little weaker or absent in the sense like NAC is silent about the process and systems to achieve the quality metrics, whereas ISO is silent about the metrics and KPI, which NAC focuses. So by very nature of these frameworks, we find a relationship that how these two things can be merged. And when we say NAC, there are other frameworks also, and which can have a similar mapping between ISO. So this was our major starting point for this research. And these are primarily the major 3 research questions we wanted to answer. What is the complementarity among the frameworks? There are many frameworks, as I said, NAC, NBA, ISO, ACSP, EQUIS, EMBA, and others. And how this complementarity can be captured in a robust mathematical model. Because until unless something is captured in mathematics, it is not machine implementable. Again, it is not machine understandable. It is not extendable, scalable, and the level of details are captured in a mathematical framework rather than a descriptive framework. So currently, both of the NAC as well as ISO are descriptive frameworks, which gives us guideline to establish systems and processes, and also guideline about their metrics and KPIs. But if they need to be brought into a mathematical framework, there has to be a very robust relationship. And the third question is that, can we design higher education quality assurance systems based on maturity model, which is the new model being adopted by NAC with new framework suggested, which will have a binary accreditation, as well as it will have 5 levels of maturity model. So that is the third questions which we are trying to answer. And can it have, because now as Ms. Sakti has said that how AI can help. So I said that how large language support can be given to these frameworks, which is like your ChatGPT in the common parlance. How this ChatGPT kind of AI support can be provided to such quality assurance systems. And of course, because this has to be scaled up across country and the world, how this whole thing can be distributed using the technology. So these are the 3 questions which we are trying to understand. I will very superficially introduce you about the kind of work we have done so far, and maybe we'll have some insight as the interest develops. So ISO as a bidirectional cyclic mapping framework. If you essentially understand what is ISO, this is basically what it says: document what is being done and do what is in the document, right? And install a continuous cycle of improvement. So these three statements are the basic tenets of ISO. And if you want to represent it mathematically, which is called a predicate logic in mathematics, what this leads to, one premise is that document what you do. So do is in the bracket, that is the activity, the argument or dependent variable, and the doc is actually the process. And the second statement can be translated into do what is in the document. And there is a cycle of improvement, right? So this is actually this graphic typically captures your PDCA cycle, which leads to organizational quality. So the third statement can be said that organizational quality is a function of an improvement cycle, which takes P1 and P2 two predicates into consideration. So this essentially defines your operator-operand relationship, which is verb and noun. And these things are typically called maps or functions or relationship. Whereas the relationship and functions are actually bidirectional. There is a dependent variable, which is a function of an independent variable. Here in ISO, document also could be dependent variable and document also could be an independent variable, which basically very beautifully captures in a Chinese symbol of yin and a yang, where process and document or the action and documents are actually complementary to each other. And when they move in a cycle, we achieve the improvement. So this is the paradigm I have basically understood before implementing into a logical framework using the predicate logic, right? I hope so far it was easy, not much mathematics. And I would say to you to remember that you take this this predicate, I mean, yin and yang symbol or the symbol which captures these processes as a dot, which is actually a relationship, but this relationship is bidirectional. And as we move on to discuss the complementary among the frameworks, let me take an institution which just starts with a mission. The whole idea of ISO or any other framework is actually convert the mission into measurable quality parameters, right? So if we start with mission and kind of maybe 2-3 independent orthogonal statements, and if they map to the objectives of the organization, so there would be a matrix which will be a kind of relationship incidence, and maybe this shows that the objectives and mission have got this relationship. Remember that this relationship is a bidirectional relationship. So if you are a given mission, you can actually derive the objectives or how much objectives are attained or help to attain the mission. There would be a reverse relationship. So it's a bidirectional, this dot represents bidirectional relationship between mission and objectives. Now, as we go down further, this objective can be mapped to organizational structure, right? And this how this organizational structure can be defined. I mean, just for an example, in our university, we have defined this organizational structure as 35 different functional units. Functional units means maybe. Are you audible? Am I audible?
You are audible.
I'm able to hear you.
Hello, sir. Yes, sir. So your voice is little breaking, but it is audible. The volume is fine. It's little breaking.
I'll pace it up a little slower. You will permit me how much time I have.
Okay, sir. 5, so approximately 5 minutes. Will that be okay?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
So this organization is divided into different units, and maybe this was the number which we arrived. These are the processes. So these are the components which support achieving the objectives, and the mapping between these will be something like this, that I'm just giving the representation that there will be a mapping between organization as well as the objective of the organization. And further down, we can go with ISO with 7 clauses and 143 sub-clauses. The ISO can be mapped to organizations, which are 35 units, and it will have its relationship incidences. Now, this ISO can be mapped similarly with NAC, which is having 7 criteria, 34 KI. Of course, this is the old framework because framework keeps changing. I mean, this could be anything, but similarly to NAC, we can have a different framework, which would be the NBA framework, or any other framework can be mapped to ISO, right? Only thing that this relationship, incident relationship, would change, and we have to define this bidirectional relationship. And we can have like this resulting into NAC and NBA can be plotted, and the performance of a organization with respect to these frameworks also can be compared. These are the little mathematical details, how this whole thing is actually captured, how the mission is the function of objectives. Here the objectives are the function of organization, and here the functional units are mapped to ISO, and the components are mapped to ISO, and the NAC clauses are mapped to ISO. NBA criteria are mapped to ISO. So similar mappings can be developed. I'll not go into mathematical details, but here you see that this definition is the direction. This forward mapping gives the implementation, review, and definition framework. And when you reverse this direction, you map the attainment and evaluation. So you can define that how much NBA process are contributing to your operational objectives or mission. So these two directions are important. And if I take it further to define the robust educational quality framework, this is basically the relationship between mission and organizational quality. Forward mapping is definition, implementation, and review. And reverse is attainment and evaluation. And these things can be separated into two, because these are two different directions, two different mappings, which mathematically represents the product of organization quality parameters. There could be n number of quality parameters from Q1 to capital Q, and they are the function of various mission statements. So basically mapping it end to end, mission to organizational quality, and in the reverse direction, the mission as a function of organizational quality, right? So these are the core mathematical constructs which are leading to this robust educational quality assurance model. And if this whole framework can have support of domain-specific large language model, this will lead to an higher education quality assurance large language model, which is essentially an AI-assisted the quality assurance system. And how this maturity-based framework would work, like as we are seeing the development of this new NAC framework with 5 levels of maturity. These are generally tentatively the 5 levels of maturity which are envisaged in 5-tier accreditation system with which the NAC is coming up in the new framework. Right from having processes to be completely unpredictable and poorly controlled and reactive, to focus on process improvement, there are different levels. And how all these levels can be supported by this higher education quality assurance framework using LLM, it will advise and intimate at all levels. So this is the kind of framework we are working on, and I hope I have been able to give some input about the kind of research we are into. And I would end my presentation. And if there are certain questions, I'm happy to take up. This will lead to definition, implementation, and review of the process and systems, also the calculation of the attainment or assessment. So this is the expected outcome of this higher education quality assurance large language model which we are trying to develop. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I think I have not been able to communicate it properly because of this technology glitch. I hope the visuals might have given you some indication what we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Soni, for an yeah. It was okay. Thank you, Professor Soni, for an insightful and enlightening session. We'll have the question round at the end of the session too. But thank you so much for helping us understand and the mapping of the robust education quality assurance model. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and anticipation that I stand before you to introduce our next esteemed speaker for today. As we gather here to delve into the depths of knowledge and innovation, we must be guided by the voice of expertise and wisdom. Hence, our next speaker for today is none other than the very renowned Professor A.K. Singh. Dr. Ajay Kumar Singh is a senior professor, head and dean of the Department of Commerce, Faculty of Commerce and Business, Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. An alumnus of Shri Ram College of Commerce and chief and editor of Delhi Business Review, Professor Singh is widely recognized for his ebullient participation in higher education institutions. He has earned the Best Teacher Award for 2 consecutive years, and his research papers have been widely recognized nationally and internationally. Amongst many other prestigious engagements, Professor Singh is the chairman of the Delhi University Sports Council, president, fellow, and managing trustee of the Indian Commerce Association, and an honorary professor at John von Neumann University, Hungary. He has also served as the vice chancellor for Sri Sri University, Odisha. He brings to the table a wealth of knowledge and experience that is truly exceptional. Professor Singh has more than 37 years of teaching experience, in all with 237 publications, including 10 books, 1 international monograph, 126 research papers, amongst many other articles, case studies, editorial reviews published in leading journals. These accolades not only speak to his expertise, but also to his commitment to the excellence in the field of research and quality HEIs. As we embark on his journey of discovery and learning, I have every confidence that Professor A.K. Singh will guide us with clarity and passion and profound proficiency. So without further ado, I invite and welcome Professor Singh with absolute gratitude. Professor Singh would be joining us online.
Good afternoon. Namaste to all of you. Thank you very much for the generous introduction. Could you please stop sharing your screen so that I can share my screen?
Sure, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So first of all, my congratulations to the entire team of Janki Devi Memorial College, the Honorable Principal, and all the other members of the organizing team for choosing a very important and relevant topic for the conference. And I was listening to the earlier speakers as well, and the importance of accreditation as well as ISO have been dealt with very nicely up till now. And I was enriched by the presentations which were made since morning, including the journey of the college in this regard. Can you see my second slide? Is it moving? Third slide. Can you see my slides moving?
Yes, we are on the introduction as of here.
Yeah. Excellence in higher education institutions is crucial for ensuring quality education and preparing students for the challenges of the modern world, particularly in the context of Industry 4.0, 5.0, and what Education 4.0 has to offer. So we need to be important players. One of the presenters was talking about the survey that she conducted for teachers, that how many of them are really there in the job of teaching just because they really want that. And that was probably 8%, which is something which needs to be introspected upon. So coming back to accreditation processes, which plays a significant role in maintaining and enhancing this excellence, and teachers are key stakeholders in these processes, and we must make sure that those who really want to be teachers are in the teaching profession, not by default or by some other reasons as were mentioned. So many reasons were mentioned, and the list was by choice. Accreditation is a formal recognition of an education institution or a degree program by an external authorized agency based on some well-defined and documented criteria and standards. In India, we can start an education institutions. In some of the foreign countries, you cannot start an education institution, particularly higher education institution, if you do not have accreditation. Accreditation is a form of quality control ensuring that institutions of higher education satisfy the defined standards of quality and reliability. Accreditation means the act of granting approval to an organization by an official review board after online as well as peer team verification that the organization has met the specified benchmarks of quality and excellence. So it validates an institution's standards of quality, encourages institutional self-improvement, as the Honorable Principal was saying during this journey of ISO as well as NAC, which is A+ for Janki Devi Memorial College, which is something to be appreciated about. It's not easy to get A+. So self-improvement takes place over a period of time when you undergo these processes. It provides basis for federal funding. In our case, you can say central government funding or state government funding and like that. Accredited degrees do better in job market. People give them more respect. The corporates or the employers consider accredited institutions as better. Help students and parents choose acceptable institutions. So these are the aspects of importance of accreditation. There is a report which is about accreditation, report of the overarching committee constituted by the Ministry of Education, which submitted its report in November 2023. So it is talking about transitioning, from the present to the new format of binary system of accreditation. So either you are accredited or you are awaiting accreditation, and the last is the not accredited. So this is like 0-1 game, whether you are accredited or you are not accredited, kind of situation. And it is about encouraging accredited institutions to raise their bar, evolve in depth or in breadth in disciplines from level 1 to level 4. Institutions of national excellence, and then to level 5, which is institutions of global excellence for multidisciplinary research and education. So that is a new concept which has been passed by the NAC Executive Council also. So it will enable choice-based ranking system for diverse stakeholders, students, funding agencies, industries, etc. So as we go more into depth and in breadth, we will be moving from level 1 to 4. The previous speaker was showing the capability maturity models, CMM levels 1 to 4 and 5 like that, where the last is the optimized form. I was seeing that table, what was being shown by him. So this is similar to that kind of model where the levels are there. There is another people capability maturity model called as PCMM. So in the corporate world, levels of maturity of CMM or PCMM is something which is with very few companies have actually gone into CMM levels for like that. So this is now coming to the educational institutions, as has been mentioned earlier. This NAC new model is going to be based on those lines. The fourth point in this is amalgamate program accreditation and institutional accreditation, considering their interdependency, and evolve a composite assessment system as a composite table or star plots detailed in chapter 9 of the report that I was mentioning about. Mentor the institutions falling far below the standards for accreditation. HEIs from accredited group may be encouraged to become mentors with suitable credit given during their re-accreditation. Simplify the accreditation process, especially for the first cycle, and bring down periodicity for re-accreditation to 6 years. Existing stipulation for annual reapprovals by ICT for technical educational programs may be eliminated over a period of time, maybe by the end of December. If the scope of the program does not alter significantly, and include all HEIs and every program in the newly proposed assessment and accreditation system with due regard for their statutory dispensations. So consider the heterogeneity of HEIs in the country, categorize them based on their orientation, vision, and heritage, legacy, and then seek information from the HEIs that are appropriate for their category rather than one size fits all model, which is right now into practice. So suggested categories of institutions at the higher education level are multidisciplinary education and research intensive, or research intensive, or teaching intensive, or specialized streams, vocational and skill intensive, community engagement and service, rural and remote location. So what orientation you want, what vision you want for your HEI, we need to choose accordingly. So heritage and legacy is about old and established and new and upcoming. So accredit with appropriate consideration for inputs, processes, outcomes, impact across different attributes of HEIs. Instead of more input centric, it is now going to be more output centric, a framework for parameterizing input, process, outcomes, and impact has been suggested by the report, linking parameters to essential variables and assigning weightages, business logics for the varied purposes of approval, accreditation, and scoring or ranking in a work in progress. Develop a unified elicitation tool to collect the superset of data from HEIs for the varied purposes of approval, accreditation, ranking, with an inbuilt design for collateral cross-checking to check authenticity of data, and in conjunction with it, introduce maximally the technology-driven modern system to replace the existing manual hybrid systems of assessment and accreditation, thereby minimizing subjectivity and enhancing transparency and credibility. And you will see one nation, one data, one data platform may be upgraded to a robust architecture to provide adequate access control and security features. Ingestion of harmonized data with due quality checks into a single format with the applicable essential variables. It may not apply to the nuances of this, but there are many institutions who are playing with the system. So this one nation, one data platform actually will resolve a lot of such issues which were being noticed by the regulatory bodies over the period of time, in terms of same teachers being shown as teachers of different institutions, which may not be true in Janki Devi Memorial College, but this is going to actually have a wide-reaching impact. And compatibility with the National Digital Framework for Good Governance, like NDEAR India 2.0, Gati Shakti, future digital campus of HEIs, for example, Samar Swayam 2.0, as well as AISHE portal, DigiLocker, an academic bank of credit, etc. So this is going to have far-reaching impact. Trust institutions along with significant penalty for wrongdoings or wrong submissions, and ensure public disclosure of relevant data by HEIs to enhance the overall process credibility. Initiate a robust outreach mechanism in tandem with effective methods of handholding the potential entrants, which is the large majority now, where the aim should be to facilitate all HEIs in the country towards joining the process of accreditation and ranking of the earliest. At the earliest, this will be an important requirement for the successful implementation of NEP 2020 in real sense. So if we compare the present accreditation system, which has given like A+ to Janki Devi Memorial College, which is score-based multiple grade accreditation. Now we are moving towards binary accreditation, as has been accepted by the NAC in its CC. Portal self-disclosure is the earlier system, and now it will be public self-disclosure from single accreditation institutions like NAC, NBA. We will have a range of approved accreditation institutions. One size fits all model to university type based process, input process limited outcome approach to majorly outcome based approach, from generic policy benefits as an incentive for accreditation to empirical policy benefits to motivate accreditation. This is what the press release was made on 27th of January 2024, wherein this was written that it is approved in the 104th meeting held on 27th of January 2024 of the Executive Committee of NAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council. So these are the major reforms from level 8 grading system to levels 1 to 4 for institutions of national excellence, and then to level 5 for institutions of global excellence for multidisciplinary research and education. So when we say that our mission is that the universities from India should be amongst the top 100 universities of the world, this level 5 institutions will really play a role in that. And then there is another dimension which I would like the teachers who are attending this conference, whether in the physical form in the college or in the online mode, there are a lot of people there also, to look at this policy as well. We have seen NEP 2020 quite a lot, but before that a policy came, National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019, for students as well as for the faculties, which provided a guiding framework for higher education institutions. And based on that, we have in the University of Delhi also a policy which is Innovation and Startup Policy 2023, under which we have now Udmoday Foundation, where you see the Honorable Vice Chancellor is part of that company, and Chief Executive Officer reports to the Board of Directors. Then there is advisory board, executive officers are there, and there are other aspects of the governance for this Udmoday Foundation. The word Udmoday symbolizes the rising sun embarking on a journey to success through innovation. To make this a reality, the University of Delhi has established a Section 8 company, Udmoday Foundation, in its pursuit of entrepreneurial endeavors. The core objective of the foundation is to drive innovation for supporting budding entrepreneurs to ideate, collaborate, develop their ideas, and grow their startups. So the vision statement of the foundation is to create and empower a dynamic entrepreneurial ecosystem where ideas inspire, innovate, and sustain. And the mission statement is to support and nurture innovators, new and early stage entrepreneurs or enterprises to help them become successful and sustainable. So I urge the Honorable Principal and the team of the teachers, if you have adopted this policy, then it is good. Otherwise, make sure that you adopt this policy and start showing results on the ground for innovation and startups to be coming from the campuses. Whatever number of startups have come from the campus till now, you should make a goal to have multifold outcomes on this. So whosoever is teaching, this is the governance and structure of the university system there. You have talked about ISO, this EOMS 21001. I'll not dwell more on this. I'm coming to role of teachers in this particular scheme of things. So one is the teachers have to be role models. Only then they can build the character of people, and they can create entrepreneurs through them, the people who can give employment. So one is that people do PG after passing out from the college, or they go straight away for doing some job, or they can have their own startup, they can join their family businesses and all that. Whatever they will do will depend largely on how the teachers have actually molded them, or how they have inspired them to do what they have to do in the future. So teachers serve as a role models for students. They exhibit behaviors and values that students can emulate. Teachers should demonstrate integrity, honesty, empathy, and respect for others, thereby instilling these values in their students. If they don't do it themselves, they can't expect just by teaching value education it will happen. NEP 2020 emphasizes integrating value education into the curriculum across all levels of schooling. Teachers are responsible for imparting moral and ethical values through formal teaching, as well as through their own actions and interactions with students. The last portion is the most impactful. If you don't tell truth, if you tell lies, you can't expect others to be telling truth. So if you are not honest, then you can't expect others to be honest. So value education actually cannot be imparted just by giving lectures in the classroom. It has to be shown in the form of behavior of teachers. Ethical decision making and more inclusive decision making. So teachers guide students in developing critical thinking skills and ethical decision making abilities. Bloom's taxonomy is important in this aspect. The 6 levels, what we talk about there, and remember, understand, apply, all those 6 levels. The higher levels are important to evaluate and create. If we are able to develop those kind of abilities in the students, only then it makes sense, and the outcomes that we expect from NEP 2020 would be there. So the role of teachers has actually become more important in the new context. So they facilitate discussions on moral dilemmas, encourage students to consider multiple perspectives, and help them understand the consequences of their actions on themselves and others. Inculcating citizenship values, teachers promote active citizenship by educating students about their rights, responsibilities, and the importance of civic engagement. They encourage students to participate in community service activities, democratic processes, and initiatives aimed at social justice and environmental sustainability. So citizenship behavior is something which is very critical. We need to develop among students. Counseling and guidance. Teachers provide guidance and support to students in navigating personal and social challenges. They offer counseling services, mentoring, and pastoral care to address students' emotional needs, build resilience, and promote positive mental health. उसके लिए अपनी भी करनी पड़ती है पहले. You have to make sure that your own health, your own emotions, your emotional intelligence, your spiritual intelligence is something which is of a high order. Only then teachers can give the same to the students. Promoting inclusivity and diversity. Teachers celebrate diversity and promote inclusivity within the classroom and school community or the college community. They create learning experiences that acknowledge and respect students' diverse backgrounds, cultures, and identities, fostering a sense of belonging and mutual respect among students. And collaborative partnerships is something which is very important. Teachers collaborate with parents, guardians, and other stakeholders to enforce character building efforts both at school or college and in the broader community. They engage parents in discussions about values, education, and encourage their involvement in supporting students' moral and ethical development. So it's not the duty of only the teachers to make sure that the character is built. It is the first teacher, it is said, is the mother, and then the father, and then the child comes to the school after that. So everybody, whosoever is in the life of a student, is important in the character building of that person, even the peers, the friends, and all that. So it is important that each stakeholder is involved in the process. We keep meeting all the stakeholders, and we engage with them in the development process. It's not only about taking lecture of 50 minutes or 55 minutes or 1 hour, whatever is the schedule in the timetable, and then think your duty is over. The outcomes would come in the desired form only when we are engaged, we are connected to the students and the stakeholders. If we are not, then we would be losing, or we will not be able to fulfill our responsibilities in the manner in which we are supposed to. So we have to rise above what we have been doing up till now as teachers. That's why it is teaching learning process. We need to ensure that the person has learned also. That's why many of the companies nowadays are not writing about training and development. They are writing learning and development. So L&D has come up now. So whether the child has really imbibed those, competency level has improved or not, whether he's able to do things or not. So all those aspects are to be seen. The job of a teacher is not over just by taking lecture in the classroom. So there are a lot of dimensions which needs to be considered by teachers and evolve themselves from teacher to guru. That means the person who brings people from darkness to light. So those kind of aspects need to be considered, and evolution of teachers needs to be done by themselves. Actually, they need to improve themselves, escalate themselves, or improve or move upward in the level of consciousness that they are up till now. Whatever level of consciousness they are now at this stage, they need to inspire themselves to reach to the higher levels of consciousness. Only then they can become role models. Only then they can have that journey from teacher to guru. Thank you very much for inviting me. Namaste.
Thank you, Professor Singh. We stand enriched by your invaluable contribution and this morning session by highlighting the importance of accreditation, especially in the Indian context, highlighting the role of teachers in quality assurance. Your talk was amazing and informative. We now introduce our next eminent speaker, Mr. Anil Johri. Anil Johri is a former CEO of the National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies and National Accreditation Board Body for Certification and Inspection attached to Ministry of Commerce and Industry. He has 43 plus years of experience in the field of quality standard certification, accreditation, and technical regulations, having worked earlier in the Bureau of Indian Standards.
We do.
He has 43 plus years of experience in the field of quality standard certification, accreditation, and technical regulations, having worked earlier in the Bureau of Indian Standards and the Export Inspection Council, India's official export regulator certification body under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. He has led development of a number of voluntary conformity assessment schemes across sectors, from yoga professionals to medical devices to good agricultural practices to food safety to private security agencies to traditional medicines to Ayurveda trainings, and supported a number of regulators in developing systems for use of third-party inspection certification in sectors such as food, oil and gas, medical devices, etc. He is currently associated with a number of organizations such as CDM Accreditation Panel of UN FCCC since 2007, Boards of Yoga Certification, Naturopathy Registration Board, and Ayurveda Training Accreditation Board set up by the Ministry of Ayush. Accreditation Approval Committee of ASI GmbH, Bonn, and ASI North America, evaluator of ISAIL Alliance for Sustainability Standards and Certification Schemes, Chairman, Steering Committee, Good Clinical Practices, Professional Certification Scheme, CDSA, THSTI, Co-Chair, Steering Committee for Voluntary Certifications in Biomedical Sector, AMTZ. He is nationally and internationally recognized expert, having worked with such international bodies as UN, FCCC, UNIDO, PTB, FAO, APO, and IFC, and was invited as an expert by WTO in 2013 and 2015. We now request Mr. Johri to take over the file. Thank you.
So your PPT is here. This is this one.
To also be patient, we are giving now Silver Money Batch, and Mr. Jory is a treasure trove of information. I have been guided by him by his huge knowledge and experience.
So
Do please listen carefully to as notes there.
yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start by thanking Professor Pal and Aarti for inviting me here. It's a privilege to be here. And I have an emotional connect with this community where I am today. My father was a teacher. He was a professor of history. And my grandfather was a teacher. My grandmother was the first woman teacher in what was called at that time the state of Jodhpur. She was the only one who was matric pass and made a teacher for the first girls' school in that state. So, and funnily enough, at this age, having retired and done my bit, I am getting into teaching today. So I'm one of you now because I am also teaching now. Before I go further, I was reminded of the survey that Aarti spoke about. And just to stress the point of stakeholder engagement, which we talk about very loosely all the time, that, oh, we should talk to the stakeholders, but we really don't do that. I'm reminded of a survey I was involved in way back, about 15 years back, of a post office. We were implementing a standard IS 15700 for public services. And under that, we did a survey of a post office, the famous, what is that called? Goldakan, on the way to the college. What do you think a survey of customers in a post office would show? Any ideas? Anybody will hazard a guess? What do you think would come out of a survey like that? What would they ask for? The people who are visiting the post office. Anyone? Times changing. Okay. Anybody else? Any other? Behavior with the customer. Okay. You know what the survey revealed? And it was a shock for everybody. Like she said, it was a shock for everybody. The survey revealed that the customers in a post office today are generally senior citizens. So otherwise, you are emailing, you are sending by courier. Courier comes and picks up everything, so you don't have to go to the post office. How many of you have been to the post office? So about not even a dozen hands out of so many. So the senior citizens are the biggest customers of post office today. They go there for depositing money, taking out money, updating passbook, etc., etc. And typically they face a counter clerk who says, 3 घंटे बाद आ जाना, passbook ले जाना. Please take your passbook after 4 hours. So what they wanted was these 3 things. You will be surprised. A, they said, we are retired people, we have plenty of time. We can sit, certainly. All we need is A, please make arrangement for sitting, chairs. B, a fan on top, garmi water. And C, drinking water. This was the outcome of the post office. Nothing to do with any service, faster delivery, quick turnaround, nothing. This is the... So this is just to stress that please talk to your stakeholders. Genuinely, like you said, Professor Pal emphasized more than once the word genuine. So my advice is please genuinely speak to your stakeholders, find out what do they want, because sometimes it might just shock you. They want something else. We tend to assume too many things. We think we know what our customers want. So with that story, let me start with my presentation. So there are two parts of this presentation. One part is about how easily you can be duped with a bad certificate. In that sense, I have no hesitation in saying you are in very safe hands of Aarti. I truly admire her that she chooses an area which is a very difficult area of education to promote ISO certification. There is so much reluctance to accept ISO in education sector. There's huge reluctance, like in healthcare sector. So she chooses to treat a very difficult path. So that's off to you. The second part is what effort goes behind that piece of paper that you're holding. That's the photograph there. How much effort goes behind that piece of paper, which I think all people should know and then feel proud of, that you come out of a system of that kind, international system of that kind. Now, management system standards, they were popularized first by ISO 9001, which came in 1987. In simple terms, it's about best management practices to deliver quality. Then came environment management system, which meant the best practices, management practices to manage environment. Then came some more food safety management system, best practices to management food safety. And that same applies to educational management system. What is the best practice? But in 1987, when 9000 came, it actually revolutionized the world. It revolutionized quality from quality control to quality assurance to quality management. These days, we don't talk of control and assurance, we talk of quality management. I mean, she spoke about internal audit. Aarti mentioned internal audit. Till 1987, we thought internal audit meant financial audit. All of us thought financial audit. आते गलतियां निकालेंगे और कोई फंसेगा जाए, गलत expenditure होगा. But this introduced a concept of auditing your systems. It introduced systems approach itself. What is the systems approach as opposed to prescribing X infrastructure, this, that, but having systems in place so that when one person leaves, the system is there, which continues to run the organization. So it doesn't become a person-specific organization. And ISO 9001 is arguably the most popular certificate today, all around the world. So the standard, when it came in 1987, many people thought it was a fad, like it happens. Every 5 years, I hear new words. These days, CSG. 5 years ago, it was something else. 5 years ago, Industry 4.0, something maybe here. But 9001 survived. 87 to 2024, yes, nearly 50 years. Then, of course, there are a lot of management system standards came, and then came 21001, which is. So education institutions started to go for 9001 itself. Lots of education institutions took 9001 because it's a generic standard applicable across all sectors. You can apply it anywhere. Small, big, education, healthcare, service, manufacturing, large-scale factories, small-scale manufacturer, government, private, public service, whatever. Everywhere you can apply. It's a wonderful standard in that sense. But what kind of certificates were being given? Here are some examples I'll show you. So this is a certificate. Looks beautiful, isn't it? Don't you think? Good color scheme, beautiful logos. No? Here is another one. Old and 2001, 2008 version of 9001, but it's there. There's another one. How many logos do you want? So, how many logos do you want? Here it is. Another certificate. Another one. So, what do you find in these certificates? Generally good looking, quite beautiful, good looking certificates. Looks nice to have the certificate like that. Number of logos to impress you. Some of them have references to foreign addresses also. So in India, everything foreign is good, unfortunately, still. Some of them are claiming some kind of accreditation. UKAF, UASL, Accreditation Council of India. I'm wondering where it is. Still trying to find out. What would you think if I tell you all these certificates are trash? They were not unauthentic. None of them was authentic. Surprised? Yeah, actually, but they are. All of them are useless certificates. If somebody was to give me that certificate, I'll tear it off and throw it. Not need it. When I saw these certificates as CEO and MSPB way back into, I'm talking about 2018, it made me reach out to NAC because then I've asked why these certificates are being issued at all in educational institutions. Came to know that NAC has in its criteria for reference to ISO 9001. Oh, is it? And also a green audit, something called green audit, which you might also carry out. So there will be some reference to green audit as well, although it's not part of the subject today. So I reached out to NAC and tried to persuade them. It took quite a while, 2018 to 2022, 4 years. But finally, they did issue an advisory to weed out these bad certificates on 26th of May 22 with a 1-year timeline. That if you have that kind of certificate, please get it replaced by a good certificate. And good certificate would mean some hard work. Bad certificate would have been given just like that. It's 500 rupees. I'll get you companies who will give you a certificate 500 rupees tomorrow if you want. You know, once one of my friends sent me a mail which said a certificate for some, you know, the rates were 2,999, 3,999, 4,999. I thought it's a Bata shop. Bata only has these kind of price tags. And it said PAN and TAN number. Please share your PAN and TAN number. So my friend asked me, Anil, what's happening? You are the CEO of NABCB and what kind of certificates are being issued? I said, you know, thank God for small mercies. He's at least asking PAN and TAN number. He's making sure you exist. Otherwise, I won't be surprised if certificate is issued to something which doesn't exist. Who knows? Anything can happen. So in this advisory which was issued, which is here, incidentally, I drafted this advisory in a way. I made a provision for ISO 21001, which was earlier not there in the NAC system. It was not there. So hopefully that would add traction. There'll be more people who will come for 21,001. But then you would think, why are there unauthentic certificates at all in the market? Why is it that so? There must be some reason why they're so. So for that, you need to understand the ecosystem. What is behind this certificate? What actually happens behind this certificate? So the problem is that anybody can certify. There's no law in the country which requires me to register. If you start a university, you have to go and take approval of UGC. If you start a management institute, you have to go and take approval of AICTE or a technical institution, engineering college. But if you want to start a certification body, you don't need anybody's approval. You just have a company and start. So tomorrow I can say Anil Johri Certification Services LLP and I can start issuing a certificate. I'll give you a certificate 9,000. You want one? All I have to do is to register a company. LLP, that's it. So all kinds of certificates can be issued by a company which is not required to register anywhere. That's the biggest problem, that there's no law which regulates that. And anybody can set up a company. It can be a partnership company. It can be public limited, private limited, profit, not profit, society, trust, what have you. Whatever is defined as legal entity can be a company. And in a certification body, what is needed? Nothing much. You need people. You need a laptop. You need auditors. It's not a lab where you need to invest a lot in terms of equipment. It's not a college where you need to invest in terms of huge building, classrooms, furniture, etc. Nothing. Actually, there are examples of certification bodies which have no offices. Today, there is an example of an accreditation body which has no office. I have evaluated that accreditation body myself, which has no office. They said, okay, we'll come at X place. We'll show you everything on the cloud. You can talk to our people online. That's it. So I went all the way to Australia to assess a accreditation body. Its previous assessment was in India. Next assessment was in Australia. So this is what we are dealing with, an ecosystem where anybody can issue a certificate. Certificate, of course, this is the formal definition. What is a certification? Third-party attestation means, third party means independent. First party is the manufacturer or service provider. Second party is the buyer. So we use the term third party, which means who is neither supplier nor the receiver of those goods or services, and is independent of these two people, and therefore has no commercial interest in this transaction. So he can be independent. Related to an object of conformity assessment. What is the object of conformity assessment? Simple English, assessing conformity to a set of requirements. What is an object of conformity assessment? What are you certifying? You are certifying a product. I can certify a product. You see ISM mark on water bottles here. If you have a water bottle in front of you, you'll see an ISM mark. That's product certification. You can certify a process. I'm sure everybody's heard of organic certification. Organic food we are talking about. That's a process. It could be a service, a banking service, an educational service, a healthcare service. It could be personal also. I was involved in setting up a scheme for certifying yoga teachers and yoga instructors, which goes on today. It's international. So any of you who's fond of yoga and thinks he knows yoga enough can go and get certified. And if he wants to know enough, go and get, taught by a training center accredited by that. It's called yoga certification. So these are the various kinds of certifications that are there. And then something called system certification, the management system part, which is 21,001 for you. There are a number of management system standards. Tomorrow, if you want to implement information security, you think you have data which is important to be protected, you might just think, I'm telling Professor Pal, you might just think of ISO 27001 as a certification on information security. All the data that you have from students, etc., is it protected? Is it kept safe? So all of them, all kinds of certifications are there. In the advisory of NAC, I tried that people should be encouraged to go for international standards. So we put in, you could do 14,001, you could do 50,001, energy management, you could do 14,001, environment management, in lieu of green practices which are written there. So how do you distinguish? In older days, in developing economies, the certification bodies were governmental. BIS or ISI was governmental. EGMARC, there is something called EGMARC, it's governmental. So you can trust. I mean, we may criticize government as inefficient, corrupt, etc., etc., etc. At the end of the day, we think some kuch rules follow karte. They follow some rules, so they are independent. They have no vested interest, no commercial interest. But especially post ISO 9001, certification got hugely open to private sector. So how do you distinguish? How do you distinguish Aarti's certification body is good and mine is not good? If I was having an Anil Johri certification success, how do you distinguish? Maybe by brand name. If Tatas are running a certification body, you might think, oh, Tatas are running a certification, should be good. Actually, they are running a certification body called TQ Cert. There is a certification. Or if I am well known in the field, Anil Johri, so you will think, oh, Anil Johri is running a certification body, must be good. He is so experienced, we know him. Or by word of mouth. You utilized Aarti. Next time you meet some other principal, you tell them, oh, I went to COAE, Aarti was very good. Why don't you go there? Word of mouth. I'm sure that happens. But these are all very unstructured ways. This is not a structured way. What is a structured way? It's called accreditation. That's where I come from. Again, third-party attestation. Again, independent. Accreditation body has to be independent, like certification body has to be. Relating to a conformity assessment body. This is important. This is important because you people in academics are used to NAC accreditation and NB accreditation. And then you think, what is this accreditation? And somebody had asked me, what is which board is this national accreditation board? We thought NAC was the national accreditation board. No, there's another national accreditation board where I was the CEO. And it has built on three pillars. Competence, you have to be competent. If Aarti is to be accredited, or CB is accredited actually, she must be competent in education sector to be able to audit you. She has to be impartial because certification bodies are supposed to be impartial. And consistent operation means she comes to Janki Devi, she uses the same process, goes to Hansraj College, uses the same process, goes to Flame University, uses the same process, consistent using the same process. Not that she comes to Janki Devi, she is friends with Dr. Swati Pal, she does a one-day audit, goes to Flame University, she wants to really give them a hard time, does a 5-day audit. You can't do that. But important to note that this accreditation I am talking about has nothing to do with NAC accreditation. NAC accreditation is going to the college directly or university. Healthcare accreditation like NABH is going to the hospitals directly. But we as accreditation body do not go to the industry directly. We go to the third-party certifiers who go to the industry. So we are a level removed. So you'll seldom see us in coming to a college, except when NABCV, if that is the accreditation she has given you certificate with, decides to witness an audit. Then NABCV assessors will come with her to see how she's doing. And I'll talk about that later. So please remember this, that there are two kinds of accreditation. One, the one you are used to hearing about NAC, etc. And the one, the kind I'm talking about, which is only third-party bodies being accredited. But who supervises the certification globally? You think ISO? No. Many people think, oh, ISO must be approving. We have got ISO certificate. ISO must have approved. No, ISO doesn't. ISO is just a standard setting body. It sets standards, sells standards, that's it. Its role is over. It does nothing else. So who else then? Fortunately, there is a body called International Accreditation Forum. And the body I was CEO of is a member from India. Like she talked about BIS being member of ISO from India. And there's another body for inspection and laboratories, which is called International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation. Again, there are more than one members from India today. But in inspection, only one. I am talking about inspection was a green audit reference, so that you keep that in mind, that if you go for green audit, where should you go? And they have a system of evaluating accreditation bodies. And how does that system operate? The international body evaluates the regional bodies every 4 years. The regional body evaluates the accreditation bodies every 4 years. The accreditation body evaluates Aarti every year, and she comes and evaluates you every year. So this is how the system operates. So all of us are getting evaluated. So when Aarti said that she's audited, I can tell you as CEO and NBC, I was also getting audited. It's not only that she gets audited. In fact, in our word, we say, in God we trust, rest all have to show evidence. So all of us, I mean, I may be CEO of NABCB in international terms, that means nothing, as long as I have not put myself through that evaluation and passed that evaluation. Fortunately, I did. Fortunately, I became not only crossed that evaluation, I became a regional body evaluator, and I am an international evaluator as well today. As of today, I'm an IF evaluator as well. And if you do that, the standards come from ISO, of course. So there are common international standards. So a college accredited certified to 9001 here by Aarti, who is accredited to 17,021, is equivalent to a college certified in US or in Europe, anywhere. That's how the equivalence comes. There's one more step in that equivalence. And IF incidentally has an MOU with ISO, so they honor each other, that we will follow your standards, and ISO says, okay, we back you to supervise the certification. Well, ISO's name is involved. ISO is also interested, its name should be, should remain good and honored name in the society. But please remember, this system is voluntary. There is no obligation for me as an accreditation body to go to IF and become a member. There is no obligation for Aarti to go and get accredited. There's no obligation. There's no legal requirement anywhere. So I can operate outside the system if I want to. It's only market pressure that Aarti faces that she goes for accreditation. It's only market pressure for gaining equivalence that I go to IF, do I want equivalence for my accreditation, word over. That was my goal. So it's a voluntary system, although many governments have recognized it and adopted it also. So this is the international system. I already told you, there are international bodies, there are regional bodies. And once you have undergone this evaluation, you sign what is called a mutual recognition arrangement. I can say with great pride that India, NABCB was international signatory to almost every scheme that is there. NABL is also signatory to every scheme that is there. Now we have two more bodies who have become signatories, QI and FTAS. So we are pretty, as good as anyone around the globe. This is the equivalence framework. And why you should understand this framework is look at the bottom of the table or the figure. If the bottommost standard is common, and in your case it is, ISO 21001 is a common standard international. So a college here and a college in US implements the same standard, 21001. Now, if you are evaluated by a certification body, second from up below, which is COAI, which is accredited to 1721 by NABCB, third block, which has its own standard 17,011, which is evaluated by next block, which is APAC, Asia Pacific Accreditation Corporation, which in turn is evaluated by IF, which means the whole chain is evaluated. So I was in this, situation where I was sitting in Mexico. I remember 2014. There was this certification body being evaluated by the accreditation body of Mexico. So on this side of the table are Mexican assessors. On this side is the certification body people. And next to the assessors of Mexican, I am sitting. I am observing the Mexican assessors. Are they asking the right questions or not? I am not looking at the certification body. That's not my job. That's Mexican assessors' job. And next to me was sitting an IF person who was looking at me, whether I am asking the right questions or not. So all four were sitting in the same room. So that's how this system operates. So you realize now that the certificate that you get, this is a system which is working behind that certificate. So I told you right in the beginning that you are in safe hands. So one part of that is, one part of my presentation is not applicable to you, but people who are listening and who may be holding certificates, tomorrow you can please scan your certificates, mail it to the organizers, and they can pass it on to me, and I'll tell you whether they are good or not. Whether just beautiful papers or they are good certificates. And the problem is this, that there are lots of certificates in the market which are not good certificates. Lots and lots of them. And people who are outside IF system, they have no accreditation. UKF, UASL, we don't know where those bodies are. Nobody knows. Accreditation Council of India, I'm still searching, as I said. So this is something about what are the certificates contain. I don't have to go through these details. You have a certificate, you look at it and you'll find all that standard, period of certification, which standard, which certification body, which accreditation body. All you have to do actually is to look at this number 8. If your certificate has an accreditation body logo and that accreditation body is listed on IF website, you are safe. That's it. Just 2 steps for you. You don't have to know the rest of it, technicalities, which I know. Your certificate should have a logo of an accreditation body. That accreditation body should figure on IF website. That's good enough for you. So this is your certificate, a good certificate. So I am giving examples of good certificate. And you can see there are 3 logos down below. One is Aarti's logo. Second is NABCB, where I worked. Third is IAF. You get an IAF logo. When you go 9,000, the difference is now between 9,000 and 21,001. There's one difference right now, which is for 9,001, there is a mutual recognition arrangement. So you'll get an IF logo. For 21,001, as of today, there's no mutual recognition arrangement. So you will not get IF logo on your 21,001 certificate. But you will get an ABCB logo. And that is good enough. An IF logo is not really a must, not obligatory. Having an ABCB logo is good enough for you to get international acceptance. This is a green audit certificate, just for your information. I mean, if you're going for green audits, you need to go to a particular kind of agency which are accredited by NABCB, and that's the kind of certificate you will get. Another good certificate by a foreign accreditation body. IAS is a US-based accreditation body. Now you can see your certificates of 9,001 on this website. So please go to this website. If your certificate is not on this website, tell Aarti why my certificate is not on the website. Now it's obligatory. IF has created a global database now, and every certificate will go into this database. So you can go to this database, see your certificate, but not for 21,000 as yet, because the 21,000 is still not under mutual recognition. 9,001, yes. Because you have 9,001 also. So this is a final this thing. Please go to a accredited body, whether for green audit or for 9,000 or for 21,000 or for 14,001 or for 50,001, anything you attempt, please ask for accreditation. As I said, accreditation means just look at the name of that accreditation body on IF website. For inspection, look at ILAC website. If it figures there, you are safe, in safe hands. That's all you have to do. Some guidance was made by Association of Indian Universities. They placed it on their website. I have given the link. You can probably download so that you can also utilize this. I did a webinar for AIU, I think November. So this is all about this system. So now you know that the certificate that you hold there comes through this kind of system where everybody has been evaluated and we don't trust anybody except God. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for illuminating all of us here with the the concepts of the complexities of certification and its processes, and empowering us here with the valuable knowledge to navigate with this vital requirement on the professional landscapes. We are truly privileged to have you here with us today, and your contribution is instrumental in making this conference an enriching experience. Now, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizing committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your participation in the first session of this international conference on accreditations in HEIs. Your presence here underscores the significance of collaboration and exchange of ideas in advancing the quality and standards in higher education worldwide. I would like to express our gratitude to our esteemed speakers for sharing their expertise and perspectives, igniting discussions that will undoubtedly inspire meaningful actions and collaborations. I now request all of you to kindly join us for the lunch in the college canteen. Thank you so much. And for our participants who have joined us online, We'll come back around 2:30. Yeah, we take a half an hour break. Announcement. All your questions, queries will be taken care of in the open house session. Please stay with us. Everything is come back for the open house.